Good morning, my friend. Welcome to the Pastor's Podcast. Good to have you along with me on this Tuesday morning, January the 6th. I hope that you had a wonderful start to the week. Had a good day on yesterday, was able to go out soul winning and then follow up on people that were out at church on Sunday. And I really had a good day out soul winning. Was able to lead a young man to Christ. He said, I'm looking for a church. What he said, I'm looking for a church, and just had never settled his eternity, did not know where he was going, and that was good. My son-in-law was able to lead someone to Christ as well, and then went out, followed up on someone who came to church on Sunday. One of my assistant pastors, Brother Trimble, actually had talked to the mom of this young lady, and so this young lady came on Sunday. She came to my class and got saved. So I went back last night. She seemed to be excited, looking forward to coming on Sunday. Then we followed up on someone that I led to Christ a few weeks ago. He was happy to see me. He says, I'm still planning on coming. And so that's always exciting to do. Just keep it rolling and seeing what God can do. And then to hear others that had a good day out yesterday, out soul winning. I always enjoy hearing that. It sounded like a good start to the week for our church, people going soul winning. And I'm thankful for that. I do want you to pray, if you would, for one of my good friends, Brother Luis Martinez, missionary to Puerto Rico, his son. I'm not going to go into detail. If he wants that out, I'll let him do that. I just want you to pray for his son. Needs some prayer right now, so really some serious prayer. His son's name is Luis Jr., and so if you could pray for him, I know that Brother Martinez would appreciate it. I would appreciate it. Good man, been faithful for many years there in the Spanish world there in Puerto Rico. And I'm praying that God will certainly do some healing in his son's life. And so you pray for them and the family, if you would, and for the doctors as they treat the son, that God's will be done in that whole thing. Of course, my prayer is for healing, and that's my prayer. And I think that's the parents' prayer as well. Of course, at the end of the day, we want God's will, but our will is that he's healed. So if you'd pray with me about that, I'd really, really appreciate that. And then also pray, if you can, for Marvin Renison and his wife. She lost her daddy the other day. I know that they're getting ready for funeral arrangements somewhere here. And I want you to pray for the Renisons, good friends of mine. And so I'd appreciate that. I want to talk to you, if I can today, from Numbers chapter 30 and verse 2, where the scripture says, if a man vow a vow unto the Lord, or swear an oath to bind his soul with a bond, he shall not break his word. He shall do according to all that proceedeth out of his mouth. Now, your word is your testimony. And breaking your word one time could mar your testimony for life. This is why it is critical that every person is a person of their word. Once you say you will do something, you must do everything in your power to make it happen. Now, your word matters to God. God says, if a man vow a vow unto the Lord or swear an oath to bind his soul with a bond, he shall not break his word. God holds you accountable to your word because it does matter to God. And I wonder how many people have flippantly promised God that I'm going to do something, and then they broke the promise. Once you make a promise to God, he expects you to do according to all that proceedeth out of your mouth. Now, you can say you did most of what you promised, but God holds you accountable for all that you have promised. I want to share a few thoughts with you about treating your word importantly with God and with others. First, your word is the credit report of your testimony. Now, imagine if there was a word agency, like there's a credit agency, where we could score someone's word as good, excellent, or poor. So what would we find about your word? Every time you say that you'll do something, you put your testimony on the line. Your testimony is to represent Jesus Christ, and who is the Word. Think about this with me, if you would. A married couple gets married, and they take vows, and that for better, for worse, for richer, for poor, in sickness and in health, in poverty and wealth, forsaking all others, as long as we both shall live. And we make that promise to our spouse. And I wonder how many times a spouse breaks that promise. We're not in the whole thing. Have you Have you kept your word with your spouse? Have you kept your word? You see, it's your credit report, your name report. The problem with the testimony is that you only have one. And once it's ruined, it is really hard to rebuild. You gave your word to your church. I want to be there, and then you're not there. You gave your word that you're gonna give an offering, and then you don't give it. You broke your word. You see, our word is critical to what we're going to do, my friend. And somewhere we've got to make this thing serious enough that we understand our word is very critical to what we do. Second, your word determines if you're trustworthy. People will choose whether to trust you by how you keep your word, and you will minimize your ability to influence others if you're not a person of your word. You got to understand, I'm building trust every day. Well, I did all this in the past, yeah, but every day you're building trust, my friend. And you got to keep in mind that your reputation will help you to influence a lot of lives. And if you're building trust every day, and then you stop doing what builds trust, you're going to have a hard time making an impact or an influence on lives. So you got to understand, not only is your word, get this now, your credit report of your testimony, but your word determines whether you're trustworthy. Third, your word should be characterized by honesty. We live in times when people have no problem with being dishonest for the sake of not hurting someone's feelings. Now, let me illustrate just a little bit if I can. I want to delve into the sports world just a little bit. This college thing that's going on, the NIL, I think it's a fraud. I think the NCAA officials are a bunch of weasels and weaklings who don't want to address this thing. These kids come to college, they give the word to go to a college to play sports. And by the way, and I'm just going to say this, I don't care what anybody thinks, but they're getting a free $100,000 education, and they know what they're doing when they're playing sports. So this fact of, well, but the college is making money. Yeah, that's why we go into business. Somebody over us makes money off of us. We don't like it, then go start your own. These college guys go out there, they give their word, and then the next year they're leading. I want more money. And you've already given your word that you're going to go to that institution. Now, I'm just saying, this is just one area. And by the way, this is all across America right now, where people, they're dishonest because, well, I just don't feel like it. I want to go do something else. I don't like what's going on here. Yeah, you're really trustworthy. You see, it is better to be honest and be hurt than to be dishonest and to get gain. It's better to be honest and hurt someone's feelings for the sake of doing what's right than to be dishonest and not hurt someone's feelings. It is, listen to me now, we've got to learn to think this idea, well, no one knows. Oh, everyone knows. You may think that you fooled everyone, but I'm going to tell you right now, at some moment, your dishonesty is going to come back and it's going to hurt you greatly. In Numbers 32:23, the scripture says, be sure your sin will find you out. Dishonesty eventually comes out, and when it does, it will not matter how much credibility you have built over the years. When it comes out that you've been dishonest, it will destroy you and everyone and they'll hate you because you were dishonest. You may be able to cover it up for a while, but it always comes out. You must be honest with all that you do. Honesty is always the best policy. And it is only the right policy by which you should live your name, because that's your name depends on it. Let me say this to you. This challenge I'm trying to give you ought to caution you about your word. We live in a day when our word for most people means nothing, but we've got to be careful because what we promise people, even just idle promises, because those little idle promises, if not kept, people don't take it idle. You think it may be an idle promise, but when someone hears it, they take it as your word. And if lying doesn't bother you, then you must prepare your life for a life of hurt. Because the fact is, you said, I'm going to do this. And I'm going to tell you right now, sometimes when you give your word, it's not easy to follow all the way through, but you gave your word. And because you gave your word, you need to follow through on what you said you're going to do. The ministry should be a place And the Christian should be a life where honesty is not just expected, but it is lived. Listen to me. Every believer is to be in the ministry. Therefore, every believer should live a life of honesty because their lives reflect on Christ to the world. And our word will hurt the cause of Christ if we don't keep it all the time. I want to challenge you. Let's become a people of our word with our spouse, with our church, with our God, with our boss, with everyone we come into contact with. Let's be a people of our word so that way that people don't look at us and it brings a blotch to the name of Christ because of our dishonesty. I want people to say, well, this guy's an honest person. Apparently his God's an honest God. I want to trust his God. That's what I want people to think. We've got to be honest in all that we do. You say, well, I can get away with being dishonest. You may get away with it for a little bit, but eventually it's going to come back out and it's going to hurt you. My friend, let's be honest with all that we do. Now, I hope you take this challenge and apply it to your life. Now, let's remember today as we go throughout the day, hey, be good to everyone.